And we are live. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are absolutely buzzing at the moment. Leicester have just, again, I'll use Glenn's phrase, smashed and grabbed Brighton away, 2-1. Glenn, thank you for joining once again. We've got Alex with us as well. Glenn, what are your initial thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, that first half there was it was pretty.
Oh, well, it was pretty good. So good that, in fact, that he decided to leave. Alex, what do you think about the first half? Well, sorry, the game in general. I don't know if yes.
The game in general, it was back and forth. You know, that you watch the first 45 minutes, and by the time halftime came around, I was like, do I really need to deal with another 45 minutes of this? Like, I wasn't having it. Like, I wasn't really ready for it. I wasn't prepared for it. And then that second half comes along, and I was like, you never know. With Nacho scoring, like, okay, tie game. He's come clutch the last 2 games, and that's something that you love to see. But who would have thought that the game winner would have come from a set-piece corner, and it would be scored by Daniel Amartey?
Yep. That's 5,000 to 1 odds, isn't it?
Like, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, that was a corner. And Daniel Amartey scored. I didn't even know how to celebrate because I was more shocked than anything else because I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, this isn't supposed to happen.
Yes, it was one of those performances. Again, the goal, I was like, it went in. It's happened. What's that? I was thinking, is that gone offside? It's not right. Like, there was always kind of a mixed emotions, Claire. What was again? We'll just come on to that now. But it was a phenomenal header, to be honest, to get down in that position and go, right, I'm going to knock it on target now from Amartey. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, of course, with us at the moment, it seems to be the fact that any corner that's against us, we're panicking, and any corner that we have, we're like, yeah, well, nothing's going to come from this. Sanchez comes out, flaps at it, and to get down to that angle, and I was sat down here with my 13-year-old daughter, and she said the same. She was like, oh my God, how did he get down to be able to get that in? And I think they were saying that it's is it only his second goal for us and his first goal in 4 years or something like that, I think.
I remember when his other goal was. It was another 2-1 win against Stoke the year after we won the league, and we were 1-0 down, and we had a terrible first. So it was quite a similar story. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do now. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have remembered it until you said it, but yeah.
And we have a special guest, Kelechi Iheanacho, has just decided to join, and he's on sideways. Is that? Oh, there we go. So his internet's working. What is going on? It's been ages. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm buzzing. I was fully expected to be like fuming after that, but
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, great to have you on again. And just back to you, Glenn, and that last goal. I mean, it's pretty much how that's the highlight of this so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, really, we went, or Marty anyway, went almost sort of like from 0 to hero. I mean, I'm sure we'll come on to the first half, but he didn't really have a very good first half. I think it was a poor throw for their goal. I always seem to be holding my breath whenever he got the ball in case there was a mistake. He played Lallana onside and was very deep in comparison to Fofana and Soyuncu. And then that's it. 87 minutes, stoops down, scores only his second goal and his first in 4 years. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Again, just for the right place, right time, you get rewarded from time to time when the other people make the mistakes. And that's what we want from the team. They kept pushing, they kept trying. I don't want to focus too much on the first 45 minutes because the second half was just so much better, especially with the 2 goals as well. But just over to you, Ant, in terms of like the second half, even though they looked shattered, some of the passes weren't coming off, some of the play, you can just tell people, like even Wilfred Ndidi to a certain point, you're looking like this guy's shattered as well. But overall, that second half performance, they got what they deserve, even though Brighton are probably going to feel really hard done by.
Yeah, and I said before the game, I think I said it to you, but I don't really care how we perform today. The only thing that's really important is get 3 points and then move. Because we've got a week break now.
Yeah, that's all that matters. And I know, Alex, we were saying as well, this week we can kind of write off as well because we were looking at this kind of, okay, if results go our way, which they have done, and we can get 4 points. I think you were saying if we can get 4 points, which we've got now, and it puts us into second place. I mean, that's a brilliant position to be in, considering everything, the amount of games we've played, the amount of injuries we've got, which again is not being mentioned as much as the likes of Liverpool, for example. And so for that, we have to just be really happy as well.
Yeah, I think you need to be grateful because this is a situation where we could have easily only pulled out 1 point out of the 6. After that 45, and, we don't really want to talk about it because it was bad. It looked pretty bad. And my expectations moving forward after that first half was, if we tie it up, we're going to be lucky here. So to say that we're coming out of this with 4 points in 2 games with incredibly damaged and injured squad is truly remarkable. And to say that we are in second in the Prem is just absolutely amazing. It's got me buzzing. But, moving forward from this game, lock every single player into a cryotherapy chamber and let them sit for 8 days straight. They need it. They need to rest. Let them do it.
Well, as long as it doesn't include death in that, I think that might be illegal. But we'll see. We will see about that, because hopefully, again, it's something that we've really got to play. I think we'll come on to this a bit later in terms of now we're not playing twice a week. This is going to really work in our favour, especially towards the top 4 positions, with only West Ham really in that position that are going to challenge for the top 4 that are in the same position. But yeah, over to you, Glenn. Just in terms of today, we've got the likes of Tavares playing, and Tavares, again, it's his first start. We were all very excited, I think, when that was announced. But what did you think of his performance today? Because obviously he went off after about 60 minutes, but I think he had a really good performance today.
Yeah, it was difficult for him because, I know you don't want to go on about the first half too much, but he had a very energetic start, I thought. I think it was he did a bit of running around. He got his foot in there with a few tackles. There was, sitting in there that slot behind Iniacho and Vardy, and of course on about around the 35-minute mark, he had that beautiful effort that was laid back from Vardy's header, and with a great save. I mean, he hit it so sweet, and what a debut that would have been, or a start, sorry, that would have been for him to have slotted that one into the back of the net. But I mean, it would have been, against the run of play in that. But yeah, and then second half, I think they pulled him then because he's just getting used to now the physicality and how strenuous it is on you in the first team as opposed to the under 23s. So it didn't surprise me when they did pull him. It certainly wasn't because of his performance, that's for sure. And I think bringing on somebody like Brighton into the middle just to shore it up a little bit there worked really well.
Yes, because essentially we are playing with no out-and-out wingers at the moment, which we've been playing for the last game, and that's something that is of concern. But again, with we'll probably come on to that. I think we'll come on to that towards the end of the game as well. But I just want to get your thoughts on Tavares today, because I know it wasn't his debut, but the fact that he came in and had a performance, especially in the first half, where there wasn't a lot of great stuff, he definitely was one of the players that shone. But again, we're saying there's not a lot of players that really shone in the first half. But a 19-year-old that's coming in for his first Premier League start, I mean, he deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, and there was a lot of pressure on him for a first start as well, because he was filling in for the shoes of Maddison, and you're seeing a lot of people throughout the week asking for him to start, which always puts the pressure on him. And I thought he dealt with that well. Like, he was never going to have a game where he was going to sort of be at Maddison's level yet. No one expected that. But what he did really well.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's just a great performance overall. I just want to get your thoughts on him, Alex, because again, I think he's a player that deserves a lot of credit. I said somebody's put about man of the match, but I don't think it was quite man of the match. But for his first performance, it was a great performance.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, the fact that he's starting was just a great opportunity for him to really, take control and, play his game. And, he had that wicked opportunity to score, and it was a fantastic save. But you know what? Like, that's just one opportunity. I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities this season. And that's something to really look forward to, because you can tell he's hungry to play. And that's what you want with the younger players. And, you're starting to see those players that are getting the opportunity are really going to start to capitalize, I think, on some of the players that are extremely tired. They're going to be like, well, if you're tired, you need the rest. I'll play. I'm young. I got this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping as well. And just we're going to try and do some plug-in stuff. So if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video, follow everybody's social media and stuff like that. I'm trying to be better at this YouTube stuff, but I'm not very good. So yeah, make sure you follow along and again, be part of the journey as we go. But yeah, just back over to you, Glenn, in terms of today. I think people are saying about man of the matches, and today, Kelechi Iheanacho, I mean, what a performance. It's something that I've got, and they were speaking about on Radio Leicester, that he works really well in a 2. And that is something today that he looked like a different animal today. And even the Crystal Palace game, he just looks like from that game, even though he scored an absolute beauty of a goal, he's taken his game onto another level and looks absolutely unplayable at times.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been concentrating on the fact of how, Vardy can't play in a 2 and things like this. But then you flip it on the fact of what Iheanacho's like, whereby he seems to play a lot better in that 2 as opposed to the lone striker. He did a lot of running. He came short for the ball and then would try and hold the ball up. He had a few nice balls through as well. I know at the start of the second half, he had a ball to Castagna, who then crossed for Vardy, and then of course the goal. I mean, he took that really well, and in fact, even more so when I saw it on the replay, that I was like, yeah, the way that he sort of waited for the goalie and then stuck it in he stuck it in the opposite side of the goalie that I thought he was going to actually, and and I had it again with the fact of the not a great first half, but he was one, I think, with Tavares and Iheanacho were probably the ones that if any of them were shining, was those slightly in the first half. And then, of course, with the equalising goal, then I would have definitely given Iheanacho the man of the match for our side of things.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. And I think the only person to hang over to now is the guy below me in the R9 man himself. But yeah, over to you and your thoughts on Nacho today, because again, we've seen him come in and out of form. We've seen him come good and we've seen him come bad as well. And today he just epitomized the not giving up mentality, and his long balls, his positional play, the fact that he's got people, and a lot of the time it's off the ball work today. Something that I really spotted, and he was going right. He was dropping in deep. Give me the ball. Okay, 1-2, and then I'm going to make a run. Oh, he was just fantastic.
Yeah, it's like you say, it wasn't just his goal, but it was like positive from him today, because it could easily have been his goal, but he didn't have another contribution throughout the game. But he was constantly involved. Like in the first half, he was one of the only positive players. In the second half, he was dropping deep, trying to build up play, link up play, and get involved, bring other players into the game. And the thing is, I do feel sorry for him, because in the summer there is going to be another striker brought in, and I don't think he's ever going to be the main man. But I think to have him as a backup striker, he's a brilliant option.
Yeah, I totally agree. And he has flashes of brilliance, but today there was more flashes, in my opinion, Alex, because I just want to touch on some of these players today, because again, overall, these teams, all the teams really played their part, and all these players really played their part, even though at times, as we talked about, the passing was quite sloppy. There wasn't enough time for them to really get on the ball. But overall, I think Nacho, just what a player.
Yeah, and I think you really got to give him credit, because one of the things, and I've been highly critical on the days that he just has had nothing, and I think all of us have been in some sort of way. We expect the best from him, and we're not always going to get that. He plays on confidence, and right now his confidence is high. And I think today you could really see that he did give 120% the entire time he was on the pitch. And that's just something to, really be happy with, because just like Ant says, he's not going to be your number one. He's not going to be, our Jamie Vardy, or, he's not going to take over for that. But he's an excellent player to come off the bench. And if his confidence is like this, it's perfect bench player. Now, it comes to say, with that confidence, and we've seen him when he lacks the confidence. We've written him off here and there all season when he's been lacking it, but when he's on, he's on. And he's been that player that has stepped up in times where we've really needed a player to step up, and we've been very fortunate with that.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of when he needs to step up, he definitely has. And I think as well with the goal, I want to mention one thing as well about Tielemans. If you look at the replay, his no-look pass was just juicy. Like looking at, I went, wait, he didn't look at that, and he did that. I was like, oh, and again, a lot of it was Nacho's movement off the ball as well, but both of them just combined so beautifully. And it's one player that I think we said before that if we get an injury to Tielemans, we could essentially, if it's a long-term injury, we could wave goodbye to top four because he's such a vital player for us. And him trying to basically link up in all the positions, Glenn, it's a lot to take in, but he just doesn't stop. He gives you a constant 7 out of 10 every single game, and not just in terms of going forward, but backtracking as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those ones that everybody keeps saying about the fact that how he looks tired and he needs a rest and all of this, and yet you can see that, and then all of a sudden, bang, he ends up with the no-look pass through to Nacho, and then all of a sudden he's a genius again. I mean, there was a few of the passes where I was thinking perhaps it is the fact of the tiredness in him, and it's affecting the fact of the levels of his passing ability and that. But then he comes up with something like that. And it's like with the interviews that you see with Maddison, weeks ago, when he was saying about the fact of, I'm going to keep trying those balls, those difficult balls. And I know they're not all going to come off, but then there's going to be the one or the two that are going to happen. And that's exactly what it was like today. He didn't stop trying. And then you get a ball like that comes through, and then Nacho being able to stop it through. And then later on, Lee was saying about defensively there. I mean, he certainly took one for the team. I think it was about halfway through the second half when he bit of a cynical challenge, but he knew what he was doing, because that the Brighton guy was bombing on from a breakdown there, and it wasn't just that. He was, I think, where indeed he wasn't having the best of games today. Tielemans seemed to be filling in a little bit on that role and was able to help out defensively as well. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree in terms of what he did as well. And we were saying just this time in this post-match against Burnley as well. Now we've got rid of a couple of people that are on 80 grand a week in Silva and Slimani. Give that money over to Tielemans, give that money over to Chowdhury, and secure these guys on long-term contracts, because again, you look at even Tavares, he had a good performance today, but he is out of contract at the end of the season. I hope at the end before that we can again secure him down, just like we've done with Luke Thomas, and make sure he stays here and develops under our team. But overall, again, there was just some brilliant performances today, and just today they just didn't give up, and they deserve the win in some points, because if you said we were going to win 2-1 at half time, I wouldn't have believed you, even though that's, again, without the cliched a game of two halves, but they kept going, they kept trying. Even Vardy, even though he's not got any opportunities, and some people have said his confidence is kind of shot at the moment, he's still trying to work for the team, and they're all pushing in the same direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't fully agree on the fact that I'd say we deserve all 3 points, because Brighton will feel really hard done by. But that's a sign of a top team. If you can play like that for 45 minutes and walk away with 3 points, that'll be absolutely crucial come the end of the season. Because I said at half time on my Twitter, follow me on Twitter, by the way.
At Nigerian R9, that's his Twitter.
It actually is at the moment, but no. But I said that this is the biggest half of football of our season coming up, because I think if we lost today, then that downward spiral with a week off, the media would have been all over it and absolutely hounding all of our players. Because, we know it as much as anyone. They don't want us in the top four. So any sort of negativity that they can feed towards the club, they will. So the fact that we managed to turn that round, now it puts all the pressure on the so-called big clubs to keep up with us.
Yes, and that's kind of thing. It's perfect. Yeah, this stage of the season is all about grinding out wins in any way possible. The teams look more hungry, exactly. And compared to this time last season, when we were kind of falling off a cliff, this game we would have probably lost this time last year. And it's important to remember that, just in terms of how we're performing and how we're doing, because it's important to remember. And I think, again, there wasn't too many amazing opportunities, but they kept creating. They believe in the football they're playing, the Glenn, and they tried and they got their rewards. And as Ant was saying, yes, they probably didn't deserve it. But if we take this a year back, and this is what we're talking about, these players are just coming into their prime. They're only going to get better at the moment. So it's absolutely brilliant, to be honest.
I think this, you say about this time last year, we wouldn't have got 4 points, out of the last two games that we've just had. And it's one thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hated the fact of going 1-0 down again early and having to do it that way. But it has showed that that attitude that we've got of, well, okay, so we're going to have to do it the hard way. And so let's knuckle down and do it. And then you had the likes of Brighton, who came on, who sort of like epitomises that sort of that grittiness sort of thing. It's not like he had an outstanding game or anything, but he just epitomises that sort of quality where you dig deep, keep going. Same with Tielemans. I'm going to keep trying those passes. I know they're not all going to work out, but I'm going to get one through eventually. And the same, I mean, same Soyuncu, same thing. There was in the second half, he started getting more of those through balls that were splitting the lines, down that left channel. That seemed to be working a lot more. And so yeah, that attitude of never say die just seems to be going with us this year, whereas last year it just wouldn't have happened at all.
Yes, and that's the case. It's one of those things where, again, I put a halftime on the Twitter that I trust we can get something out of the game. And that's not something that I would say this time last year. In terms of, did I think we're going to get 3 points? No. To be perfectly honest with you, with the first half performance, I thought, okay, we can nick a goal somewhere and go through. But I think overall, again, it's something that we could definitely work on, because, again, I don't want to harp on too much about the first half, because, again, at the back defensively, we just didn't look good enough. I mean, the likes of Johnny Evans is a massive miss for us. And if that was a better team, they would have put more goals away. It was kind of lucky that we were only 1-0 down at half time. The fact is, we've got to give the manager, Alex, a lot of credit. I don't know if he quite changed formation. Do you think he changed formation to a 4 at the back at half time, and Daniel Amati changed? It was kind of like this fluid half 4, half 3 at times. But Ricardo was getting a lot more joy on that right-hand side. So I think they might have changed it. But again, we just have to give a lot of thanks to Brendan Rodgers for giving him the trust, and him going to go, right, okay, I've spotted the issue. We don't have a full squad. This is how we're going to deal with it.
Yeah, and one of the things is, I've been very vocal with trusting Rodgers with, the process, because, he is one of the best strategic and tactical managers there are in the football right now. And, at halftime, I was in the same boat thinking, okay, you know what? He's probably thinking something. There was a clip during the first half where they showed him jotting something down on his notepad. And at that point of the, I was like, okay, he's definitely coming up with something brilliant for halftime. And you know what? You just got to learn to trust him. And I think that's difficult for a lot of fans, because everyone's an armchair manager. It's just a natural thing. And so you see it on Twitter, and everyone's talking about like, oh, he better take out. I think the amount of times that I saw, you better take Daniel Amati out at halftime. And I saw that all across Twitter, right? And how hilarious is that he's the guy that, he's the game winner. Even for myself, in our North American Foxes group chat, I said, we were discussing, how, the depth of our squad isn't as good as it should be. And someone said, take Amati, for example. And I said, Amati doesn't start on any Premier League team, let alone possibly a championship team. And here I am biting my tongue like 60 minutes later. So, it just comes to show you need to trust the manager. He's there for a reason. He's excellent at what he does. And, at the end of the day, we pulling off 3 points. And at this time of the season, every game is going to be a grind. If it's an ugly win or not, you take those 3 points and you run with them. Every point counts now. Exactly.
And I think we said against Burnley, we look at this game, these are the games that are going to matter when we come at the end of the season. We were known to kind of beat the top 6 teams, but lose against these smaller teams. And again, Ethan just put a really good point in as well. one thing we forget is that Amati can play so many different positions as well. And he can play in, I think he's played before in the midfield when I think he was kind of the replacement to Kante before we brought in Didi in. He was playing alongside Andy King. And then you look at the likes of, he can play right back, he can play in the central defence. And he fits in and goes, right, from the first game, I'm going to put, people slate him because he doesn't do anything that much wrong, to be honest. But he doesn't do anything. But again, today he gets down, gets that header, and he gets a goal, Glenn, because that's what we needed in these kind of games, of players to show up, and they did, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, very true. I mean, in the so I know you don't want to touch on the first half too much, but I mean, we were missing Evans a lot because the thing is with those three there was that one that the positional know-how, the fact of pointing out to everybody in that, commanding that defensive line, and pointing out where people should be, and things like that just weren't there. But yeah, I mean, at the minute with the injuries we've got and everything like that, it is a matter of somebody like Amati is awesome, so that because we can have somebody that fits in those different positions, can play then. Whereby at the beginning when we were looking at the lineup. And it was like, right, okay, so is he going to play a back four? Or is he going to play a three across the back? Because with Amati, he can fit in and slot into those positions. So yeah, it's when we're down to the bare bones, it's good to have players like him in there. That's for sure.
Yes, and they're just good utility players that come into use at times. And it's something that I think somebody's put in earlier. Ethan's putting it, so thank you for your comment. Thank you for everybody for the comments as well. So thank you for that. But for the first time ever, we've got a whole week to prepare for the Sheffield United game. And this means, I think, just give them a couple of days off just to just relax and rest their legs. But again, and today, this is something that we're going to leave this position going, right, we've managed to get through this horror show that has been the last 4 months. And now we're coming into a part where we can just relax a little bit. We've got one game a week, because look how much difference that made. And in Brighton in the first half, it showed you they're coming into a team, they're playing against a team that's played once already, and they're playing once a week and we're playing twice a week. And it showed in the first half. But overall, I mean, we've got to really, really be looking forward to this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think as well is not just the fact of picking up 3 points, in terms of the mental side of that, to come back from a game where first half we were horrific, but then second half we completely turned it around. Mentally, and like the psychology of that will be absolutely huge heading into the end of the season, because we're going to have a lot of games where it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to dig deep. And last year we saw it at the end of the season. We sort of folded, and in a game like this last year, we would have folded, because it reminded me a bit of the Bournemouth game. But I think this result here will give them a belief for the rest of the season. Yes, I know it's only Brighton, but Brighton are a decent side. Their points total doesn't sort of show how good a team they actually are. But I do think that it will give the team the confidence to go on for the rest of the season and hopefully pick up enough points to get that Champions League spot.
Yeah, let's hope so. I think one of the things at the moment, especially with how we're playing, is we could push on to them levels. And I think what is shown as well is this season is the lower teams are in the league actually are putting up a really good fight against the top teams. Like not just us, but I'm talking about the traditional top six, for example. They're really coming into their own. And it showed today, like Burnley was another example. They're down towards the bottom, fighting for their life, potentially in a relegation battle. And today yesterday they can go, right, we're going to play you person for person. We're going to go and have a go at you after losing 4-0. And it's something that, again, we're getting results against these people, Alex. And apart from the Arsenal game, we've not had too many other dismal performances, all things considered.
Yeah, and that's something that it's extremely positive, because, if you look back at last season, especially at this time of the year, it was just, you're down by 1, that was it. You're mailing it in at that point. So, if you're looking at it now, I think there's a lot of confidence. And that's something that's key. Because I think, and if you lose this game, you have 8 days off. You just sit there, and I think you have 8 days for them to just sit and stew in the fact that they lost and that they gave up. They lost 3 points to Brighton, and they managed to only get 1 point away from Burnley. So you have them sitting there for 8 days just thinking about that. Where this time around they can go, we're second right now. They could be third tomorrow. Doesn't really matter. We're still in the top 4. We have 8 days off to relax. We can get better. Our form can improve. Let's move forward. Let's take the next game, and then let's take another break. Let's take the next game. Completely different mindset, and the psychology of it all is insane. And just the way that we've been able to maintain that, and you really challenge every team that we've seen to play, has been so key.
Yeah. And that's what I think as well. And I just wanted to accidentally open that. I'll add back to stream. So again, today, if you look at the table at the moment, obviously it's a couple of 27th, they've got a game in hand or so forth, but that puts us right up into 53 points compared to Man United have got on 51, have got Man City. I think Chelsea have got Everton. So if they could, so again, that could be a potential draw or slip up for either team. They could keep them positions as well. And then West Ham have to play as well. But it is looking pretty strong at the moment, Glenn, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a few people have said to me about the fact of, we shouldn't be worried about what everybody else is doing, just worry about ourselves. But to be honest, yeah, I'll be hoping for a draw with Chelsea and Everton. I think Man City have pretty much got the league wrapped up. So, I'll be looking at City doing us a favour and beating United there as well. Because at the end of the day, as long as we can keep one of those, or a couple of those teams below us, then we're laughing and through to that top four slot that we need. I think I'd be a lot more disappointed this year if we weren't to make it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still tight there. It's looking a lot better at the minute, but of course, all those other teams have got at least a game in hand. Everton have got a couple of games, so is West Ham. But yeah, I'd rather have the points on the board than the games in hand. So yeah, sitting there second at the minute, I'm absolutely more than happy.
Yeah, and even now, I think with the position, I don't know if this has been the same thing on your guys' end as well that you've seen. People are still writing us off that we're not going to make top four, that we're not going to actually achieve. We're going to flop once again, even though that's not the case. It's just a narrative at the moment, isn't it, Ant? But at the end of the day, we've just got to do what we can do at the moment. And again, as one of the things, as Ethan said, build that cushion from fifth. The last three games of the season are going to be brutal because I think we've mentioned before, we've got Tottenham, Chelsea, and Manchester United. So 3 tough games. However, we tend to turn up against, and the team tends to play. But just again, over to the point that in terms of people are writing us off a little bit, and we just need to let them continue until we get hopefully the top 4 by the end of the season.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not too bothered what other club fans say about us because they always have and always will on sort of and I don't even think it's just us. I think West Ham are in the same boat and Everton, but all of the United fans and Chelsea fans think they've got some God-given right to be in the Champions League. And I would love it if neither of them got in there, to be honest, and if it was Leicester and West Ham, because no team's got a God-given right to be in there.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully if Aston Villa can strings or get Jack Grealish back and they can get playing, I mean, that'd be fantastic. Oh, you don't like Aston Villa. I'll leave that one. But no, but just in terms of at the beginning of the season, I think we were all saying we could break the top 6, but it's not just us. If Everton could get in there as well, they've got the opportunity to. But I think overall, it's people haven't, again, one thing as well, to again, about the end of the season, Ethan puts 3 huge games. We'll have Pratt and Maddison, Barnes back, and that's going to be a huge lift for us as well. Just knowing that the players have got time to rest, but also new players going to come in and go, right, I want to start. I want to get back into this team and can continue the form with especially the likes of Pratt, who was, again, a really underrated player if you don't watch Leicester City game in, game out. Maddison and Barnes, who again have been the top assisters, but since Vardy's not turning up, Nacho has stepped in. So we've got a proper squad at the moment, Alex. When if you could compare to this time last year, we were relying on key players to just drag us through.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you can look at this differently. But at the end of the day, you got to take each game. You got to focus in on that game, and then pull as many points as you can from those games. If you take a draw here and there, just make sure you follow it up with a win. At this time of the season, where from Man City has it. Like, in my opinion, they're pretty much going to win, and that's been decided, and there's no debate on that. But from second onwards, this table can change. So, just because, we're in second place now does not mean anything, 6 weeks from now. And I think, as fans, we need to really realize that and really, understand the fact that, the table has been wild all season. There's been teams that have just unexpectedly, shocked everyone. And then there's been other teams that have, done the thing that they've been doing normally. And, I will continue to say that we are still the only team in the Prem that has stayed in the top 4 the entire season. We have not dropped out, and that's huge. But I will say that I do love being the Invisibles. We don't get mentioned. We're often forgotten, and the only time we seem to be remembered is that we're gonna drop another top 4. Finish in the top 4, and we're gonna drop it and fail it again. At the end of the day, I like being invisible and moving forward because that's something awesome, and you don't have to worry about that stress. But the biggest thing for me is that the squad and the club really need to just don't look at other teams, just focus on the game that's at hand.
Yeah,
because at the end of the season, that's huge.
Yeah, and we're doing so well at the moment, Glenn, just to kind of end up on this, in terms of we are doing really, really well with the injuries, with the players looking absolutely knackered today, but they're still fighting for the manager, they're still fighting for the club, they're still fighting for the badge. And that's something I was speaking to a Man United fan on Friday, and that's what he was saying, that Man United aren't doing that. They don't trust Ollie, they don't trust his tactics, they kind of rely on individual brilliance. And in that sense, yes, they've got better players, but we've got a more experienced squad in order to go on and achieve that top 4 level.
Yeah, I mean, I know you put it in at half time about the fact of in Brendan we trust and that, and I think tactically, and I think he's got that the mentality for the of getting across to the players as well, of the that attitude of never say die. And then of course this game is going to go tremendously for that as well, and it's going to be and Brendan's going to instill that into him even more now, and where we've got all of these players that are out, and you got somebody like Tavares now who's come in, he's going to be chomping at the bit to try and get in there even more, and he's going to be looking thinking, yeah, Maddison who. I mean, yeah, he's not going to be jumping straight into Maddison's shoes, that's for sure. However, it's certainly looking good for the fact of getting, the likes of Maddison and Barnes, who's obviously had a phenomenal season. I'm just hoping it's that fact of when they come back, how they're going to be like after their injury. When I think we rushed back a couple of the players before, with Pereira and that, how he was brought back too early, and things like that. But that's if only mental attitude could gain us a place, and that'd be it. Would be in a Champions League spot, no problem.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's one of those things where you're right, and the people that you mentioned, the injuries, but also people like Johnny Evans, who's got that experience, go, right, let's shut up shop at the back, you play here, you play here, you play here, we can finish and then just carry on with the game. And we are giving people rest, and we've got that rest now, but I think that's pretty much everything. Again, it's more about the mentality and how we're going to be perceived. So hang in there, Leicester fans, we will be okay, all things considered. But if you've enjoyed this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. It's free. Why not join? And we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.